Shekhar Neelam Krishnamurthy, as we look today, 13th June, 14 years ago, it's a day that is still alive in your memory. But 14 years of fighting, did you ever think that you should just give up given the people that you're fighting against?
No, this thought never crossed my mind that I should give it up. Because once I decide something, I make sure I do it. And this is a decision, a very important decision in my life which I've taken to get justice for my children. It means a lot to me. So I never thought that I would ever give up. Although I had a lot of hurdles, I had a lot of obstacles. I'd been threatened, I'd been humiliated a number of times in the court. I mean, they'd used every possible trick in the court, but I never gave up. In fact, I became more determined each time.
Shekhar, often it's not just a fight against the people in the case, it's a fight against the system and how it works. What to you has been the issue which has summed this up, the fight against the system? I mean, we heard it's very far removed in a way, a mother fighting there for her daughter in Lakhimpur Kheri, you fighting today again for your daughter and son in a Delhi studio.
Yeah, exactly. You know, when we started this fight 14 years back, you know, when we went and met the lawyer, that's what he told us. It's going to be a big, you know, it's going to be a long fight and long battle for us because we're going to fight the government and one of the biggest builder lobby. But we never thought that it's going to take 14 years for a case which is, you know, absolutely open and shut case, because I sent my children alive and they bought the services of the theatre. They paid the money, they went to see the theatre, and after 3 hours I get the dead body back. What's my mistake? Was I responsible that the NOCs were given without any inspections and everything?
No, of course.
The system itself is, you know,
we didn't know they closed the exit, we didn't know they closed the gangway, we didn't know they had extra.
Of course, the case is still being fought in court, but I think nobody can dispute that 14 years is too long for a case like this, where whatever the merits of the case may be in court. But let me bring in Ram Jethmalani here, who's represented the answers as well. Ram Jethmalani joining us from London tonight. Why is it, sir, that across the country there is a feeling that the rich can get away with breaking the law? There's a different law in India for the rich. What would you say to that?
Well, I am afraid the question is a little misplaced, and it reflects only a half-truth. The classification is not between the rich and the poor. The classification is really between those who have managed to get on the right side of corrupt politicians and those who have failed to do so. And if you are discussing Ansal's case, I'm sorry if I had known that you are discussing Ansal's cases, and that is the foremost topic of today's discussion, I would have declined to participate in this, because as a counsel for Ansals, I have got some ethical and professional responsibilities.
Well, the main focus of the case is not Ansals, sir, so I won't ask you specific... Yes.
If you are discussing the general system and the general questions that arise, and I certainly will like to tell you my views. But otherwise, please understand, I am out of this. I have great sympathy for those who lost their dear ones.
Yes.
And I understand their anguish, but that has nothing to do with the guilt of the Ansals.
Sir, I said at the outset that this is not about the merits of the case either, and it's not only about Uphaar at all. It's about a larger issue of the legal system. Now, sir, you represented Binayak Sen. I mean, you represented him for free, really, in his case, because you felt that an injustice had been done. But often in cases around India, the problem is that the families of the victims don't have access to the kind of lawyers that people who are rich or powerful, whether it's politicians, whether it's businessmen, do. And that, many have said, is one of the main issues, that the system is so lopsided, a public prosecution can't compete against India's best criminal lawyers like yourself.
Look, I must tell you very frankly that when I was the chairman of the Bar Council of India, we had to frame the rules of professional conduct and etiquette. And one of the express rules that we framed, and that rule is still in operation, was that every lawyer has an ethical obligation to render, within the limits of his economic capacity, service and free legal service to all those who cannot afford to pay his fees. And so far as senior lawyers are concerned, we had made it very clear that this obligation attaches more to senior lawyers. Now, whether senior lawyers follow this rule or no, I can't say, but I can honestly say that throughout my career at the bar, 90% of my practice has been free practice, I do make money and I make good bit of money, but I make it from the remaining 10%.
Neelam, Shekhar, when I talked about the system, and I said, not specific answer, when I talked about the system and how it's pitted against the families of the victims, what would you tell Mr. Ram Jethmalani today when he says that lawyers do give free service to families of victims or help? What would you tell him?
One thing, for once, I would agree with him on the point, and he said there are senior lawyers who are doing a free case, and for that there's an example of Mr. KTS Tulsi, who's been doing this case pro bono for the last 14 years for the Uphaar Victims Association.
Right.
But the other thing, when he says that, you know, there isn't a difference, but let me tell you, it's only the rich and the powerful who have access to the judicial system. A common man is actually left without it, because these are the people who have a face value. They can go to the court, they can seek an adjournment at a drop of a hat without batting an eyelid, which is not possible for even a public prosecutor to object. And this is the only reason which is the delay in the system. In this case, Uphaar case, it's been just the delay that's been happening, adjournment and another adjournment and another adjournment, and there have been thousands of adjournments which have been taken by these people. I faced the same problem in the Supreme Court. My appeal was to be heard on the 10th of August, and it has not been heard because they have sought 4 adjournments in the last 1 year, when my matters come up on the daily list 4 times, and I've gone and sat in the Supreme Court right from morning 10 o'clock till 4 in the evening.
NDTV's Cricket app, Android and iPhone, fastest scorecard, special analysis and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.